Hello, everybody, and welcome to Revisiting Disney. This is the series in which every episode I go ahead and I pick an attraction or a place or a show or a restaurant or something from Disney, and I sort of play armchair Imagineer and talk about how I would replace it or retheme it if I had to. Doesn't always mean I want to see it get replaced or rethemed. It's just usually a fun creative exercise, and it's a cool way to take a new look at all of these places from Disney that, you know, we all love and know. As you can see, this episode, we're doing something a little different again. Last time we did a restaurant and we've done shows. Today we're going to be doing Typhoon Lagoon, the water park. Now, what's interesting here is some people asked if I was going to do Typhoon Lagoon as a whole or if I was going to do just parts of it, and it made sense to do it as a whole because I think Typhoon Lagoon sort of was themed and built as a whole, right? It's rather than having, you know, separate stories for each different, I guess, attraction in Typhoon Lagoon in the way you have a theme park. It's more like there's this one central story that sort of sums up the entire area. And I think it'd be fitting to do that with a revisiting rather than try and break it down, especially because that'd kind of be tough to do, to just give like a water slide its own independent story and theme. So I had a lot of trouble at that point because, you know, theming a ride's one thing, trying to theme an entire park of water attractions is certainly another. But I eventually came up with an idea. But before I get into it, I kind of want to talk about the process that sort of brought me to that. Now, this is one of two water parks at Disney World. There's Typhoon Lagoon and there's also Blizzard Beach. And what's interesting is Typhoon Lagoon, if you're looking around at it, especially here on MC Magic, it's a fitting theme and setting, right? It's got this tropical vibe to it. It's nice. It's, you know, it's got the palm trees. It's exactly what you would expect a water park to sort of look like. Whereas if you look at Blizzard Beach, the whole appeal of that park is that it's the exact opposite. It is the sort of place where you wouldn't expect there to be the water park. And that's what makes it novel, is the idea that it's a ski resort. You think, oh, that's freezing. You'd never have a water park there. And so one potential way that you could approach re-theming something like Typhoon Lagoon is sort of like the Blizzard Beach direction, where you go for that that clash of water park with area, or, you know, theme that shouldn't be a water park. But I think it'd be fitting for this one sort of to, you know, live in the spirit of Typhoon Lagoon, to have a theme that is sort of fitting of a water park, where you could expect, maybe not expect a water park to exist, but it just sort of has that same tropical feel. And I was thinking of ideas that sort of had a tie-in with Disney property, because I feel like that's maybe the best way to revisit it, rather than, I can't think of what a theme would be, you know, that doesn't have a Disney property involved, that is like tropical in nature, that isn't just Typhoon Lagoon. So what I did is I picked out a property that I think would be fantastic, that doesn't have a whole lot of representation in the parks in Disney World and could use a lot more, and that is one of my favorite movie series, Indiana Jones. Now, Disney owns Indiana Jones now. They have that license. There have been talks of them creating more Indiana Jones films beyond the fourth one, so it's something that's still going to be relevant. It's a classic, and I think an Indiana Jones water park would be awesome. Now, what does that entail? Well, I don't want it to be, you know, just a mishmash or a mashup of, you know, references and set pieces that call back to the previous three Indiana Jones films, because there totally wasn't a fourth one about aliens and crystal skulls. That was all in our dreams. Because I think that sort of goes against the spirit of the park, right? This is a park that has different attractions, but it has one, you know, sort of consistent theme and backstory to it that sort of pulls the whole park together. And it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to have pieces from Raiders of the Lost Ark or Last Crusade or anything like that to sort of just completely without context tied together. So here's my idea. Theme it after Indiana Jones, but theme the entire park to be this super dense, super lush, tropical, not tropical, but like sort of rainforest, almost like an ancient abandoned civilization, sort of like a Shangri-La discovered again, right? You have all these maybe ruins that are broken down, so you can have all these cool temples that are there. You've got all of this lush greenery, which one I think would lend to the tropical nature of the park and also sort of make it fitting, sort of the way, you know, Typhoon Lagoon is. but I think it would also be cool for a lot of fun interactive things, like whether it's, you know, a river rapid that you could go down, or a bunch of water slides that look like they're, you know, integrated into these abandoned temples in the jungle. But you could also do cool things that I was thinking about that really call back stylistically to Indiana Jones, which are all the booby traps, right? Think back to the beginning of Raiders of the Lost Ark, all those booby traps in the temple where they get that golden statue. Imagine filling the park with them, except replace all of the lethal weapons with water, because that would be a lot more fun than spears. But like, I'm talking about a pathway where you run along it and it shoots up jets of water, and you have to try and, you know, stay ahead of the jets of water, or you run down a hallway and it shoots jets of water from the side. I think that sort of stuff would be really fun. And if you look at Typhoon Lagoon here, it's got the boat up on the mountain that periodically will, you know, spray water and it sounds the horn. I don't remember the time interval that it does it, but that's where you could throw like the one major Indiana Jones reference, and maybe make it like this long mountain, and at the top of every hour or something, you know, coming up over this edge, you see it slowly crest over, and it is the giant boulder from Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then it just rolls down the hill and disappears, and maybe you see a huge splash like Splash Mountain style, and then it's another hour until it gets to the top again. And that's sort of like the weenie of the park that draws everybody into it, and that just calls back to Indiana Jones and a memory that I think we all love. And beyond that, I mean, there's not a lot of specifics to it, right? Like I said, I don't think you could tie a specific story to a water slide, you know? It's just going to be a water slide. But I think the theming here that ties everything together is the idea of this, you know, abandoned, ruined civilization in the middle of a jungle, because I think it would be really cool. It'd have a really authentic look to it. Having all of this lush greenery would provide lots of shade, which is something you certainly want in the, you know, mid-central Florida summer sun. And I think it would be just a cool, loose way to tie it into Indiana Jones. Maybe, you know, maybe one cool thing that you could pull into the parks, maybe the water parks have done this, and I just haven't been to one in a long time, but you never see, like, characters at the parks, or you never see, like, street actors. I think that would be really cool, sort of like the street actors from Hollywood studios. Maybe get Indiana Jones and, like, Marion Ravenwood and, like, all these characters every so often running through, and, you know, I think that would be a lot of fun. Anyway, that's just my idea for Typhoon Lagoon. It's a very general and vague one, but again, I think Typhoon Lagoon is the sort of place where that's what it requires. You can't have something too specific, because then it sort of separates all these different parts of the parks, and it sort of ruins that unified story. But, you know, that's the one that I came up with. Let me know what you think. Maybe you love that idea, maybe you hate that idea, maybe you have an idea that you think is better. I would love to hear it in the comments below, and if there's something you'd like to see me revisit, I would love to hear that in the comments below too. I'm kind of running short on things to revisit. The good news is, I think in my future this year, I have both a Disney World and a Disneyland trip planned. So once I get to ride some of these new attractions, once I get to ride all the stuff from Disneyland, I'll have a whole bunch of new stuff I could revisit. But for now, we'll see how it goes. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Have a fantastic week. Whatever you're doing, make the most of it, because it makes it that much better. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm @RobPlays, and I hope to see you all next time for the next episode of Revisiting Disney. Bye, everybody.